Okay, folks, two big things have happened in Cuse-land in the last week. First, we got ourselves a new coach. Former Georgia, the assistant coach, and one of the best recruiters in the United States, Fran Brown, is the new head for Syracuse football. He brings with him an impressive pedigree. And I mean, hey, he worked for Temple. He also worked for Rutgers. Now he's got some pretty good connections up here in the Northeast. One of the things Wild Hack was looking for. But he brings with him a big resume as a recruiter. And you know what? That could definitely help us. But in this day and age with the transfer portal, I almost wonder if it's Star Trek rather than recruiting, the transfer portal. Hey, Scotty, can you give this portal some more juice? I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. If I give her any more, she'll blow. How about it, Spock? Well, with about a couple thousand people coming in here, it's eminently logical that it would be called a transfer portal. But if I were human, I would say, full of shit. If I were human. Well, that's what I'm going to say. I mean, this transfer portal definitely is making college football almost like free agency. It's like, hey, get in there, you can go anywhere. Whatever happened to getting an education? Hey, just look at JT Daniels. He's been at 4 schools, and he's playing for Rice right now. But I digress. More about Mr. Brown. Well, let's say he's recruited a couple of pretty good recruiters. Elijah Robinson, who's the interim head coach for Texas A&M, is tagged to be the new defensive coordinator. And New York Giants assistant coach Jeff Nixon. No, Buffalo Bills, not that Jeff Nixon, the one who was an interception machine for the Bills in the late 70s, early 80s, but an assistant coach who's quite a bit younger and is pretty highly regarded, is tabbed to be the new offensive coordinator. And I will say, Nunzio Campanelli, who's going to be the coach through our bowl game, has been retained. But you know what? This guy Brown brings an impressive pedigree, and let's see what he can do. Can he bring that knowledge of recruiting up here? Because that's what Syracuse needs. Let's see what this guy is. Let's see what he's made of. He replaces Dino Babers, and hopefully he can change the culture, get some disciplined football, if you know what I mean. And I mean, I go from talking about Brown to talking about us going to a bowl game. Yes. Syracuse's bowl destination is Boca Raton, Florida. Well, it's a kind of an upper suburb of Miami, a little north, I should say. But you know what? Boca Raton is also where Florida Atlantic University is and where their stadium is, which is the stadium that's going to be used when we play in what is kind of an impromptu home game for them, even if they are on the other coast of Florida. It's South Florida, our old friends from the Big East Conference, who used to dominate us. Well, you know what? The Bulls' program kind of has taken a dive the last few years. But you know what? The coach brought them back and got them to a 6-6 record. But you know what? When South Florida's played us, we've usually bombed against the Bulls. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens in the Boca Raton Bowl. Why couldn't they get a bowl game at a time where I can watch it? It's going to be a day before that I go on Christmas vacation. So you know what? Well, of course, that's what replays are for. That's what other channels are for. I can watch a replay of the game. But you know what? Boca Raton, here comes Syracuse against South Florida. Come on, guys. Let's close the season with a victory and get ready for what lies ahead under Coach Brown. Now I go from talking about the Boca Raton Bowl to our basketball team. Yes, last week, very impressive win against LSU in the ACC SEC Challenge. But then, again, we showed, hey, this team's got some serious shortcomings when it comes to playing with the big guys. A big 22-point loss to Virginia on Saturday. And tonight, we got a pretty impressive-looking Cornell team coming into the Dome. You know, Cornell has had moments of glory, especially when they almost made the Sweet 16 about over a decade ago. You know, Cornell can rise up just like Colgate has. And I mean, Cornell is our second most played opponent. And I mean, we haven't lost to Cornell in, 50-some years. But I mean, heck, Cornell can present another big challenge for Adrian Autry and the Orange. Well, you know what? It's going to be another measuring stick for Adrian Autry as we edge closer to ACC competition. Let's see what we can do against our old friends from Ithaca, our Ivy League friends, if you know what I mean. Let's see what we can do against the Big Red. Anybody got some chewing gum around here? Oh, Big Red. Gulp. Yep, that's what we got to do with Big Red. You got to chew it, but you can't swallow it, if you know what I mean. Maybe blow some bubbles. And I'm going from talking about the SU and the Big Red to a little bit about the Bills. Yeah, it was the bye week for the Bills. But you know what? Time to reorganize. Time to get going. As I mean, the meat of our schedule's coming ahead. We got Kansas City. We got Dallas. We got the Los Angeles Raiders. We got New England and Miami to close. And hopefully close on a big note for the Bills. But of course, last week we kind of took a step back. Von Miller charged with domestic battery. You gotta wonder about his availability for the rest of the season, or whether the Bills want to cut ties with him. You know, that is a big thing in Bills land. Von Miller is a vocal leader. Yeah, he may be one of the elder statesmen of the NFL and pretty respected. But you know what? You don't respect anybody who beats up on women. Although I hope in ways that's not the case. Well, good luck to the Bills. And you know what, Von? I'm hoping that these aren't real. You are a vocal leader. Buffalo needs you, man. Now I want to pay tribute to somebody that was a great statesman. Yeah, I know it's not sports, but I mean, hey, I've got my 2 pennies on a lot of things. And especially for Henry Kissinger, who made it to 100, who he lost this past week. One of the greatest diplomats and one of the greatest secretaries of state we ever had. But you know, there's one thing I found out. He's from Alabama. Listen to him. You knew he was from the South. Well, that was the way they was when they did it, and that's why they was there with the bombs and they blew them up. I was the first one to recognize that. You know, I told my friend, that dude's from Alabama. That's right. I was there when they did it, and that's what they better get out of there. Well, you know what, Mr. Kissinger, you were a pretty good guy. I admires you. And I mean, Godspeed, Mr. Kissinger. My hand is off to you. And last but not least, I'm going to close on a story that really rankles me. Yes, our big gun laws here in this state have claimed a victim of a company that was started in the state over 200 years ago. Affiliate Remington started his company in Ilion over 200 years ago. He had a steel forge, but he made the first big firearm, one of the first great firearms that this country had ever seen. Remington grew out of that and became one of the great companies of the United States. especially with its great quality firearms. But of course, because we've become so restrictive with our gun laws, I mean, a lot of the manufacturing dried up. And a great company that was a boon for the New York State and for the Mohawk Valley announced that they are shutting down the plant there in Ilion that at once housed about 1,300 workers. You know what? I kind of hope that Cuomo and Hochul are satisfied. Yeah, we got some of the most restrictive gun laws. We pretty much cannibalized the Second Amendment here. And you know what? I mean, they kind of say, New York State is open for business. Huh, yeah, right. We're open for business. Yeah, we want to take a great manufacturer like Remington out. And especially, hey, why don't you talk to Miss Ocasio-Cortez, who is supposedly one of our representatives in this, in government, if you know what I mean. She was a former bartender. Socialism does not work here, Miss Cortez. And how about you make me a white Russian? I'm Ken Haas, and that's my story this week.